When you're really struggling your brains out and urging to go back to your old habit, this is what matters. How able are you to manage your negative emotions? Pornography withdrawal symptoms. Is it real? What do you need to know about it? And actually, what will happen if you just decide cold turkey to quit porn forever? We've seen that guys, when they're knee deep in a porn habit and addiction for a long time, usually years and years, in most cases over a decade, especially with the guys in the cases that I work with over the last 10 years, this has been my professional line of work, working with over 300 now guys go through this process of quitting masturbation and porn, is that they've stated over and over, and I've experienced this myself as a past addict, so I know very well, that you experience anxiety, you experience frustration, irritability, stress, depression, anxiety. I already said that. But all of these symptoms keep coming up, and if you ask an addict, you can really tell the reason for this the withdrawal symptoms. If you think about it logically, if you go through the mind of the behavior of someone who's addicted to anything really, but especially for pornography, the reason that people go back to the porn habit in most cases is because it is an emotional support system, or an emotional crutch that I call it. And that means that typically guys, we don't know how to deal with negative emotions such as anger, such as stress, such as depression, such as boredom, which is also very common. And so the natural thing that we always go back to from a very young age many times is our old friend pornography, right? So if you remove that friend, that crutch, that emotional crutch from your life, you're not left with any ways to release those negative emotions in a healthy and productive way. You can release it through pornography, and that's what you've trained your brain and your body to do. But what that does is make a very temporary solution to your problem, to your emotional need. So the key here for everyone dealing with a porn habit across the board, whether you're have a mild addiction or extreme addiction, is being able to master your negative emotions and to not control them or eliminate them, but to release them in a healthy and productive way, and not in a destructive temporary way. And this is why typically women, generally speaking, women are better at regulating their emotions and are less susceptible to addiction. Across the board, men are more susceptible to addiction, to indulgence in video game use, pornography, drug abuse, alcoholism, is because men, we do not know how to regulate our emotions as much as women. And this is not a man versus women thing. This is a you as a human being. How well are you able to manage your emotions and respond to strong and negative emotions in a productive way? This is the key. This is when the rubber hits the road, when the shoes hit the fan, when you're really struggling your brains out and urging to go back to your old habit. This is what matters. How able are you to manage your negative emotions? And this is especially important for people who are in the middle of the addiction scale, okay? And I talk about this addiction scale a lot on this channel. The addiction scale is basically a scale of 1 to 10. It's a self-identified point on your scale. 1 being very tame, very mild, very not really addicted to it, but has an ongoing habit, maybe once a month. But more importantly, it's someone that usually has an identifiable trigger to watch porn or masturbate. And they kind of are struggling with the idea of doing it for a while, like a few days, and they eventually act out and they feel very terrible. That's a good sign that you're kind of on that. You feel very terrible and very guilty. On the other end of the spectrum, the 9 or 10, and it's typically people that don't really have identifiable triggers, but just act out of habit. And just because it's something that you've developed a habit to do in an addiction cycle in your mind, and through your routine, that if you don't have that routine, then you start to experience the withdrawal symptoms like anxiety, like stress, like irritability, annoyance, and all that good stuff, right? And usually people at the high end of the spectrum can't even go a day or a few days without acting out, watching porn, masturbating. And then there's the middle of the spectrum. This is why I'm bringing up the spectrum of addiction, is because if you're in the middle of the spectrum of addiction, usually your triggers are for reasons. There's either a big stressor in your life, like a moment, like an argument, like something that happens at work, or something you keep going back to, and it's those identifiable negative emotions that you're experiencing that you do go back to porn, masturbation as a habit to go back to. Now, the good news for people in the middle is that if you're in the middle where you kind of are struggling, but you're not identify like a full-on addict, but you can kind of regulate yourself a little bit, and you usually go to the habit because of some stressful experience or negative emotions. The good thing here is that you can, and I've seen this happen over and over again, you can beat this thing within a short period of time, a shorter period of time than you think. I give it 21 days. 21 days, 3 weeks is all it takes to really reboot, rewire, and recover from your porn habit for good, forever. Now, the reason I'm bringing up this spectrum of addiction, and especially people in the middle, in my experience, about 80%, most people, most guys are kind of in the middle. The reason I'm bringing this up is because if you're in the middle and you decide to go to do a 21-day reboot, for example, if you decide to take the challenge, I'll put it in a link in the description to take my personal customized reboot playbook where you can just reboot and rewire your brain in 21 days. Go to benuyama.com. If you decide to do that and you're in the middle, chances are you won't have any strong withdrawal symptoms. You might have a few, but it's actually a good thing. This is a good thing if you start to experience things like irritability, if you start to get anxious. This means that you have an opportunity to stop using porn, masturbation, sexuality as a crutch in your life. Stop using it as an emotional crutch and start using, releasing and relieving that stress and that emotion in a positive and productive way. And I'll give you one last tip. And the question is, how do you actually release those negative emotions that I've been talking about in a healthy and productive way, right? The key to this is always give and take. You have to have give and take. Give and take creates everything. Everything in the universe is created through give and take. Babies are created through give and take. Any new idea or new thing you want to do in your life requires give and take. It's the secret sauce of life. So what I'm saying here is that you've got to have give and take with somebody. I'm telling you, you got to talk to somebody. If there's anybody in your life that you can talk about this habit that you have with pornography, with masturbation, whatever it may be, it's a good step, and they will help you for two important reasons. They'll keep you accountable, and number two, it'll take this situation out of just your head and in battling it with yourself, and we all know what that's like, and it will take it out of just yourself into a third-party perspective, and you'll have support. And when you do that, something magic happens, all right? I guarantee it. Just tell somebody. If you don't have anyone to tell, I'm here for you. Let me know how I can support you. Like the video, watch more videos, and let me know if you have any questions, all right? It's good to have you. Take care.